Hello, everybody. This is Dr. David Jockers, and today we are talking about the top 12 trace mineral rich foods. And we look at trace minerals, they are so essential for cellular energy production. I always tell people we don't eat for energy, we drink and use electrolytes for energy. So the minerals that we consume from food, from herbs, from salt, even, right? The right type of salt play a critical role with the energy production. So in our society, we're so focused on macro molecules like carbohydrates, protein, and fat, and those do play an important role. But what's more important is getting trace minerals from the foods that we are consuming. And we're going to go through that and really show you the best trace mineral rich foods in this presentation. And so, if you don't know me, my name's Dr. David Jockers. I'm a doctor of natural medicine, and I help people overcome chronic disease, chronic issues, and really just support cellular energy production. And I have a specialties in the ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, and overall improving metabolism. This is my beautiful wife, Angel, my little boys, David and Joshua. And I have a clinic, Exodus Health Center, right outside of Atlanta. That's where I see people. And so you can see when we're looking at micronutrients, which is really what trace minerals are, they're so important for thousands of different metabolic functions in our body, more important than macronutrients. So again, we've looked at these macronutrients like fat, carbs, and protein for so long, but vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, these are actually more important for cellular energy production. And so again, we can't just focus on macronutrients. We need micronutrient rich foods. That's what's going to be key for good energy, optimal health, and really just, our optimal physique and all the different things that we want, really good brain function. And so the problem in our society is that most people, they're getting the macronutrients, but they're not getting the micronutrients. So we're overfed, but undernourished. And that means that, again, we're getting the calories, we're getting those macronutrients, but we're undernourished because we're not getting the right amount of micronutrients in our system. And so when we look at minerals, they're required in very small amounts. Why it's called trace minerals, oftentimes less than 100 milligrams per day, but they're absolutely vital to good health. When we look at the different ones, we're thinking things like iron, which is key for red blood cells, iodine for a number of different functions with our immune system, as well as thyroid hormone, cobalt, chromium, which is really key, and also vanadium, really, really key for blood sugar stability, copper and zinc, really important for different enzymes and genetic transcription factors, manganese as well, cellular energy production and genetic transcription factors, selenium, molybdenum, really important for the immune system. And so these are nature's catalysts. So they're kind of like, they help facilitate different reactions, and they work with enzymes to generate all metabolic functions in our body. And so here are the top 12. These are things you're going to want to get in your diet on a regular basis. So sea vegetables. In fact, the sea, anything from the sea is going to have a lot of trace minerals. So wild caught fish, fermented foods. When you ferment, you're typically using salts, and ideally good salts, and trace that are a really good form of trace minerals. And also you're using vegetables. And of course, vegetables are also a very good source of trace minerals. Avocados are a great source. Pasture raised eggs, pink salt, so getting the right type of salt, trace mineral rich salt. Bone broths or vegetable broths. Olives are a really good form. Grass-fed butter or ghee, and grass-fed meats. So let's go through sea vegetables. What are these? They are a number of different things that are growing in the sea. So you have single cell algae like chlorella and spirulina that are loaded with nutrients. In fact, a lot of researchers say, hey, you could actually survive because of the micronutrients that are present, chlorella and spirulina, and the bioavailable amino acids. You can literally survive on these microalgae. Now, they don't taste great, so it's not that we'd want to survive on them, but you could. And really, all sea vegetables, say nori, wakame, just super rich in micronutrients for our body. So these are some most trace mineral rich foods, food sources that we can put in our body. Now, not a whole lot of calories in them, but a lot, so not a lot of macronutrients, but a lot of micronutrients. And that's really why you would consume these, is for the micronutrients. And a great way, obviously, there's greens powders like that you can find that have chlorella and spirulina. You can get supplements for those as well. This is a great way to just incorporate it into your daily diet. These sea snacks are really good. They taste fantastic. And as the bag says, it says strangely addictive. They really are. They taste great. They've got virgin olive oil, granulated onion, and this is a flavored one. That's the onion one. Organic seaweed. So good. And a lot of people are concerned about like nuclear radiation and things like that. The reality is that nuclear radiation is affecting everything. So if we were to say, hey, watch out because, you know, Fukushima and the nuclear radiation, we really just have to cancel out eating in general, which I am a fan of fasting, but you really can't cancel one particular food like sea vegetable versus others. Now, the good thing is a sea vegetable in general, being that it's so rich in micronutrients and chlorophyll, is really good at protecting itself from a wide range of environmental toxins. One of the reasons why these things have survived for so many years is that the micronutrients, the chlorophyll, really help protect them from things like radiation exposure and extreme heat and different things like that. And so this is probably the best thing from the sea that you could be consuming if you're concerned about that. And in general, it's one of the best things we can all be consuming, unless you're the unique individual that may have like a sensitivity to seaweed, which is, you know, you could take any food and somebody may have a food sensitivity to it. So you never quite know. But ultimately, this is one of the most nutrient dense things you can do. And one of the best things you can do for protecting your body from oxidative stress, whether that's coming from poor diet, whether it's coming from just emotional stressors, or it's coming from environmental stressors like radiation or nuclear exposure. So taking something like this is the best thing. So that's why I recommend consuming that. Good seafood as well. So you want to get seafood that's not, see, unfortunately, things that are high on the food chain are very high in heavy metals. They are bioaccumulated in the heavy metals. This is one of the reasons why microalgae and sea vegetable are so good, because they're so low on the food chain, obviously. And as we go up when it comes to seafood, the higher on the food chain, the more contaminated it can be. So you're looking for things that are low in the food chain from as pure sources as possible. So I like wild Alaskan sockeye king salmon. Really, really great source of omega-3s, trace minerals. Sardines are an awesome source. Anchovies, herring. So small fish are really good. If you're looking for whitefish, wild-caught cod, whitefish, and chunk-like tuna would be good sources. Not quite as micronutrient rich as the top four, but still very, very good. Okay, fermented foods. So you can do sauerkraut, kimchi, pickles, beet kvass. I mean, there's so many different fermented foods that you can do. You can do fermented drinks as well, like coconut water kefir, apple cider vinegar. You know, fermented vegetables, especially like kimchi, pickles, sauerkraut, are just so good when it comes to trace minerals. Typically, you're using some sort of a healthy salt on there to help with the fermentation process, and it helps unlock trace minerals from the vegetables that seep out into the brine, as well as are just more exposed and bioavailable for the body, easier for the body to digest, because the enzymes and the good bacteria are breaking those things down, making them easier for our body to digest and absorb. So definitely want to consume those. Green vegetables in general, really, really good source of micronutrients. Really, you know, the best benefits of eating a lot of green vegetables is the micronutrient content. So whichever ones are your favorites, and it's always a good idea to really rotate a lot of these. And you're getting the micronutrients without a lot of macronutrients. And we want to get there are things we do want to get macronutrients from, things like avocados, right? So we get a lot of healthy fats from avocados, which is great. We also get trace minerals in there, and that helps support digestion, immune system, healthy skin, hair, and nails, teeth and bones, muscles, and cardiovascular system. So avocado is a great source of micro and macronutrients. Same thing with pasture-raised eggs, particularly the yolk, which is super rich in things like choline and vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin K2, rich in calcium, potassium, phosphorus. So pasture-raised, meaning the cow or the chickens in this case are eating grass and worms and insects. They're going to absorb a lot of micronutrients. Now, if they're fed just like any old genetically modified grain, corn and soy, they're not going to have as much micronutrients. They still will be a micronutrient dense source. In fact, they probably are one of the most micronutrient rich foods that the average person in Western society is consuming, because of course the average person is not consuming many vegetables and things we've already talked about, but they may be consuming eggs. But when you do the pasture raised, you're going to get a lot more of those micronutrients, and that's really what we're going for. That's what we want. And so salt in general, we want to do pink salt. And a lot of people are concerned, hey, you know, my doctor says to avoid salt. But look at this. The American Heart Association says 1.5 grams of sodium per day. Now, an average teaspoon of sodium is going to have 2.325 grams of sodium. Okay, so that would be less than a teaspoon a day. But you see, actually having 1.5 grams per day increases your risk of a cardiovascular event. So that's not what we want. Instead, look at that range, 3 to 6, okay, is actually the best range, between 3 and 6 grams. Roughly 5 grams was the best when it came to reducing your risk of cardiovascular events. So that's more or less like 2 full teaspoons of salt a day is going to get you close to 5 grams, and you're going to get some from the foods you consume. So you want to be getting these types of pink salts into your system on a regular basis. Right type of salt. I like Himalayan sea salt or Celtic sea salt or Redmond's real salt. It's really, really good. And again, if you're on a lower carbohydrate diet, because this was just taking average Americans, and so these are people that were on a higher carbohydrate diet. If you're on a lower carbohydrate diet, you really need more. And so I typically recommend 2 teaspoons of salt per day to get, for sure around your 4.5 to 5 grams. But at the same time, I tell people to consume a lot of sodium rich foods like our sea vegetables and our wild caught fish and different things like that. Are fermented foods really rich in salt, like good pickle brine and pickles and stuff like that. So that's really what you want to be going for. If you're on a ketogenic diet, I typically recommend somewhere between 6 to 8 grams, which is going to be like 3 teaspoons of salt, or really 2 teaspoons in a very sodium rich diet from the foods that we're consuming that are rich in trace minerals. Bone broth, great source of sodium, great source of trace minerals. So I consume a lot of broth myself. If it's coming from the bones, it's going to be really, really good for gut health, joints. It's going to have a lot of collagen protein to support our joints, our skin, our hair, our nails. Really great beauty food. If it's a meat broth, okay, more of a meat broth, it could still be a great source of minerals and sodium. So, and a vegetable broth for sure, so you're getting the essence of the vegetables. So those are all great sources of trace minerals, something I'm drinking regularly. In fact, as I'm doing this presentation, it is like 9:45 a.m. here on Eastern time, and I'm drinking diluted broth. And this is more of a meat-based broth that I got from the store, organic free-range chicken broth. Sometimes I'll do vegetable broth, and I've got it diluted with hot water. So I do like 1/3 broth, 2/3 water, and it's like a mineral drink, trace mineral drink. Really good for energy. And I fast, I'm not consuming any food, so just doing this is awesome. You can also get a lot of the benefits of bone broth with the concentrated collagen protein from doing bone broth protein, which we do sell the Ancient Nutrition brand on drjockers.com. They've got a lot of different varieties and flavors. This is the kind of protein powder that my wife and I use and our boys use on a regular basis to support our joints, to support our skin, hair, nails, get that good collagen protein for gut health, immune system, and all the different things that collagen protein is good for. Olives. We're a huge fan of olives. If we're doing salads, we always have olives on them. And I love good black olives. And again, they're usually pickled in salt or cured, and tons of really good micronutrients in them. Olive oil as well. Olive oil, of course, lower in sodium, but also it's very dense in polyphenols. Now, you want to make sure you're getting a extra virgin olive oil that hasn't been processed. That's very important. And your olive oil should always be in a dark container and should be away from heat. Actually, you don't want to cook with olive oil. You want to use it raw on salads or different things like that. You can put it on meat after it's cooked because you don't want to damage the polyphenols that are in there. So olive oil, again, really good to use, but for sure, be sure to use it in more of a cool form and keep it in your cupboard and away from the sun, away from heat, different things like that. So that's important. Olives in themselves are very rich in trace minerals. So use olives too. Put black olives. Those are my favorite. I put those, and they're most micronutrient rich on my salads. You can also do green olives too. The green olives are good. But yeah, just use olives more often. A lot of people have forgotten about olives because they go with olive oil, but you get a lot of trace minerals in the olives themselves and good healthy fats too. So really good. Grass-fed butter. Grass-fed butter, so butter from grass-fed cows, super rich in omega-3s, vitamin D, K2, fat-soluble retinol, which is, it's not easy to get. You get that the best form of vitamin A is not from carrots. Carrots are good. They're actually micronutrient-rich food. They're very good for your body. They are higher in carbohydrate, higher in sugar, so you do have to take that into account. But actually, the type of vitamin A that they have is called beta carotene. Same thing with sweet potatoes. And that's good for your body, but it takes more enzymes to convert that into a fat soluble form. It's actually easier on the body. You get a lot of your vitamin A from things like grass-fed butter, pasture-raised egg yolks. Easier on the body, more bioavailable, easier to use. So I recommend that. Butyrate as well. So when we consume fiber, healthy gut bacteria in our gut produce butyrate or butyric acid, which reduces inflammation throughout our body, throughout our whole body, as well as our gut. Grass-fed butter is a pure form of butyrate. Same thing with conjugated linoleic acid, which is so good for your metabolism and your immune system. And then again, lots and lots of trace minerals as well. So definitely grass-fed butter, really good. Grass-fed ghee as well, really good sources. Okay, grass-fed beef. It's just like the butter. When cows eat grass, their meat, their dairy is very micronutrient rich. When they eat grains, if they're on a conventional farm, it's going to be deficient in micronutrients, not going to be good. We want to avoid that. It's very toxic and inflammatory for our body. So you're going for grass-fed, and you're really looking for 100% grass-fed. If you're able to get that, going to be rich in omega-3s, going to be rich in beta-carotene, which we already talked about with carrots, going to be rich in conjugated linoleic acid, other things like carnitine, carnosine. I mean, there's so many different micronutrients that are in grass-fed beef. So doing grass-fed wild game or grass-fed animal products on occasion, not all the time, but not over-consuming meat, but, from time to time, is very, very healthy for your body. So I'd recommend that. And when we look at why people are deficient in micronutrients, one of the biggest things, there's a number of reasons. One is overtraining. So a lot of exercise, high-level athletes could be deficient in micronutrients, poor diet, blood sugar imbalances, chronic stress, leaky gut where you're not absorbing nutrients. And then really probably the most common thing I see is low stomach acid levels. So this person is not able to produce enough stomach acid, and so therefore they have poor digestion. Stomach acid's really key for chelating minerals, and they end up with protein, amino acid, and mineral deficiencies like zinc, iodine, calcium, magnesium, things like that. So very important that we address stomach acid levels and support that. And so the article that goes along with this video, we go into more detail about that. We have a lot of articles and videos that go into stomach acid issues. And that's definitely something we all need to look at and address. Now, when I am helping people detoxify heavy metals, or if I know that they've got things like celiac disease, or they're a high-level athlete, or they're just, I've tested them, I've done micronutrient testing, and they're very deficient in trace minerals, then I'll usually get them on this supplement right here, mineral support, which can be really, really helpful. It's a very good source of trace minerals. It also has a source of low-dose lithium, which is really good for brain. And I've seen a lot of people with different types of mood disorders, and we've tested them and seen that they're trace mineral deficient, and supporting them with supplements like this and a healthy diet has made a world of difference. So that's our presentation today. Hope you guys really enjoyed it, and God bless everybody, and I will see you guys on a future online